Hello, friends and seekers of spiritual wisdom. Have you ever heard the phrase, karma is the law of the universe? Many of us have heard about cause and effect, but do we truly believe in the impact of our actions? Today, on Insight Bodhi, we will delve into a story that transcends time and cultures to unveil the power of our choices and the depth of karma. A long time ago, in a village surrounded by serene mountains and Buddhist temples, there lived a farmer named Raghu, known for his simplicity and devotion. Raghu and his wife Meena had a small family, but worked together to live an honest life. One day, the couple traveled to a distant town to sell grains at the market. While returning home, they were ambushed on a secluded road by robbers who took everything they had, even the little hope they carried. Left penniless and stranded in unfamiliar land, Raghu and Meena found themselves utterly helpless. As they wandered aimlessly, their confused minds sought a solution. On the horizon, they saw the cabin of a Buddhist sage, illuminated by the first light of morning. The serene figure of the monk, sitting in meditation and surrounded by disciples, radiated an energy of peace that drew them in. Raghu, with a distressed heart, approached respectfully and recounted to the sage their desperate situation. He said, "Master, I am in a dilemma. I need money to start over, and thought of offering something of value. My wife has agreed to serve as collateral for a loan from a wealthy merchant. Could you guide us, please?" The sage, known for his compassion and wisdom, listened intently and pointed them toward a merchant who could help. With no alternatives, Raghu and Meena followed the advice. When they arrived at the merchant's home, Raghu pleaded, "Sir, please accept my wife as collateral and lend me the money. I promise to repay you with interest and gratitude as soon as I recover." The merchant, though hesitant, agreed. Determined to turn his fate around, Raghu used the money to start trading grains. He bought from small farmers and sold at fair prices. Through effort and dedication, he became a prosperous trader within a few months. 8 months later, Raghu returned to the town, eager to repay his debt and reunite with Meena. However, upon arriving at the merchant's house, he received devastating news. "Your wife fell gravely ill 3 months ago, and despite all medical efforts, she passed away." Raghu was devastated, yet something in his intuition told him the story was not complete. He remembered the sage and returned to his cabin in search of answers. The sage, after hearing the story, frowned and firmly declared, "Your heart is correct. This merchant is hiding something. Go to the king's court and demand justice. Trust karma, for it will guide you to the truth." Thus began Raghu's journey to uncover the injustice and reclaim what was most precious to him. Raghu, with newfound determination and a flicker of hope ignited by the sage's words, decided to follow the advice and set off for the king's court. The journey was long and filled with uncertainty, but his unwavering faith in karma and justice pushed him forward. When he arrived at the grand court, he bowed deeply before the king. With his voice trembling yet resolute, he pleaded, "Your Majesty, I come to you seeking justice. I took a loan from a merchant and offered my wife as collateral. When I returned to reclaim her, he claimed she had passed away. But deep within my heart, I know this is not true. I beg you, please grant me justice." The king, known for his commitment to truth and compassion, was moved by Raghu's heartfelt appeal. He immediately ordered the merchant to be summoned to the court. When the merchant arrived, the king addressed him directly. "Is it true that this man entrusted his wife to you as collateral for a loan?" With apparent confidence, the merchant replied, "Yes, Your Majesty, it is true, but unfortunately, she fell gravely ill 3 months ago, and despite all efforts to save her, she passed away. The physician who treated her can testify to this, as can the men who carried out the cremation." The merchant spoke with such conviction that even the king began to consider his story credible. However, there was something striking in Raghu's expression, a steadfast belief in justice and an unshakable certainty that the truth would prevail. Despite the merchant's explanation, the king hesitated, torn between the accounts. Eventually he declared, "Raghu, I am deeply sorry for your loss. Without evidence to prove otherwise, I am bound to accept the merchant's word." Devastated but unwilling to give up, Raghu returned to the sage's cabin to share the outcome. The sage, calm and composed, listened attentively. With a serene smile, he said, "Karma is patient, but it is also infallible. Now, you must make an unusual request to the king. Ask for the right to rule from the throne for 3 hours. With this, we will bring the truth to light." Although puzzled by the suggestion, Raghu trusted the sage implicitly. He returned to the court, his faith unbroken, and humbly presented his extraordinary request. "Your Majesty, with the utmost respect, I ask you to grant the Buddhist sage who has guided me the right to sit on your throne for just 3 hours. He has promised that by doing so, the entire truth will be revealed." Intrigued yet skeptical, the king agreed, saying, "If this act can bring justice, I will relinquish my throne temporarily. Bring the sage here." Soon after, the sage arrived at the court, his presence radiating calm and authority. As he took the throne, the room fell silent, and a sense of reverence swept through the court. The sage then commanded that the merchant, the physician, and the witnesses who claimed to have performed Mina's cremation be brought before him. With remarkable wisdom and insight, the sage began his interrogation. He addressed the physician first. "You, the doctor who was summoned to treat Raghu's wife, did you attend to her at the merchant's house or at the farmer's home?" The physician hesitated, his voice faltering as he stammered, At the merchant's house, sir." The sage smiled faintly and pressed further. "So, you did not see her personally in her final state? Could it be possible that she was misdiagnosed or perhaps not dead at all?" Hearing this, the physician broke into a cold sweat, realizing the gravity of the situation. Overcome by guilt, he fell to his knees and confessed, "Forgive me, sir. I was paid by the merchant to lie. I never treated her." The witnesses, who had claimed to have performed Mina's cremation, began to tremble under the sage's penetrating gaze. Turning to them, the sage asked, "Did you see the body you claim to have cremated? Was it truly lifeless? Or did you even look inside the coffin?" One of the witnesses, terrified, murmured, "We saw nothing, sir. We simply followed the merchant's orders." A heavy silence descended upon the court as the truth finally began to emerge. The sage, firm yet compassionate, declared, "Merchant, your greed and deceit have caused immense suffering. Bring Raghu's wife to this court immediately or face severe punishment." Fearing the consequences of his actions, the merchant dispatched his servants to fetch Mina. Moments later, she was brought into the court, alive and well. Overwhelmed with joy and relief, Raghu ran to his wife, embracing her as tears of gratitude flowed freely. The sage then turned to the king and proclaimed, "Your Majesty, justice has prevailed. Never underestimate the power of karma and dharma. To govern with truth is the highest duty of a leader." The sage, now temporarily seated on the throne, continued to unveil the truth with remarkable wisdom, leaving everyone in the court spellbound. Turning his gaze to the merchant, he declared firmly, "You used your wealth to deceive, but karma, like a flowing river, always finds its way back. Your dishonesty will be judged here and now." Trembling with fear, the merchant tried to justify his actions. "Master, I only acted out of desperation to recover my money. I never intended to cause harm." The sage locked eyes with the merchant, his voice calm yet penetrating. "Your attachment to wealth and ego has clouded your morality. Have you forgotten that we, as sentient beings, are all interconnected? Your greed has brought pain and suffering to another, and now you must face the consequences of your actions." The sage then turned to the physician, who had already admitted his guilt, and to the witnesses who had lied about Mina's cremation. His tone was firm and authoritative. "You chose to falsify the truth, driven by greed or fear. Do you understand the weight of karma that falls upon those who betray another human being's trust? It is imperative that you learn the meaning of responsibility and repentance. The witnesses, unable to bear the burden of their own lies, fell to their knees. One of them confessed with a trembling voice, "Master, we never saw the body. We did what the merchant commanded without questioning. We are deeply remorseful." The sage, maintaining his serene demeanor, responded, "Remorse is the first step toward awakening, but you must still bear the consequences of your actions. Let this serve as a reminder that truth and compassion must always guide our choices." He ordered that the merchant be imprisoned for his deceit and that the witnesses be punished according to their roles in the crime. The physician, too, was reprimanded and fined for compromising his ethics. With justice restored, the sage turned to Raghu and Meena, who were now reunited. A gentle smile graced his face as he said, "You have both endured great trials, but karma has returned to you what is rightfully yours. Always remember that truth and dharma, the path of righteousness, are the greatest forces in the universe." The king, deeply moved by the sage's wisdom, rose from his seat and said, "Master, you have not only brought justice to my kingdom, but have also taught us invaluable lessons. I have learned that to govern requires more than strength or power. It demands compassion and wisdom." The sage replied humbly, "Your Majesty, a king is the protector of Dharma. When he governs with truth and service to others, he becomes a beacon of light for his people." With that, the sage descended from the throne and returned it to the king. Addressing the court one final time, he said, "Let this story serve as a reminder that our actions carry consequences. Karma may be slow, but it is just. Strive always to live with integrity and compassion." As Raghu and Meena left the court hand in hand, there was a palpable sense of peace and gratitude surrounding them. They knew their lives had been forever changed, not only by the justice they had received, but also by the wisdom they now carried in their hearts. After justice was restored, the sage turned to the king and the gathered court. His voice was calm, but carried profound wisdom. Raising 3 fingers, he said, "Your Majesty, there are 3 lessons that you and everyone here must remember. These are not just for rulers, but for anyone who seeks to live a life of virtue and righteousness." The court fell silent, hanging on to every word of the sage, absorbing his teachings with reverence. First lesson: never leave your companion alone in times of illness or suffering. The commitments we make to one another must be unwavering, especially in moments of greatest vulnerability. When we care for those we love, we strengthen the bonds of the heart and the harmony of the universe. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle before continuing. Second lesson: defend your companion against false accusations and injustices. The world can be cruel and quick to judge, but it is our duty to stand as a pillar of support for those we trust and love. Your courage in protecting the truth will always be rewarded by karma. His gaze swept across the room, ensuring every person understood the depth of this teaching. Third lesson: do not entrust the integrity of your relationship to third parties. Trust is a sacred gift, and we must protect it. Never leave your companion vulnerable to the temptations or ill intentions of others. Mutual respect is the foundation of any union. After delivering these powerful lessons, the sage looked warmly at Raghu and Meena, who stood side by side. With a kind smile, he said, "You two are an example of strength and resilience. May this experience deepen the connection between you and inspire others to live with truth and compassion." The king, deeply impacted by the sage's teachings, expressed his gratitude. "Master, today you have not only brought justice, but also shared lessons that will guide my heart and my kingdom. I will forever be grateful for your wisdom." As the sage prepared to leave, the court dispersed, but his words remained etched in the minds of everyone present. Raghu and Meena left the palace hand in hand, ready to rebuild their lives with renewed gratitude and purpose. This story of justice and resilience is more than just a tale. It is an invitation to reflect on our own actions and values. What have you learned today about the power of karma and the importance of living with integrity? If you believe this message should reach more people, share it with your friends and family. Let's spread wisdom and compassion together. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any inspiring stories like this one. See you in the next video with more teachings that transform lives. Until next time, and remember, karma always follows the path of truth.